The galaxy had long since abandoned notions of gods, but fear remained, a constant shadow draped over star systems and silent moons. That fear had a name, whispered in fragmented languages and coded war reports: the ancient galactic soldier. No one knew where he came from. No one knew how to stop him. He didn't just destroy armies. He erased entire histories, leaving behind nothing but static and ash. On the bridge of the Federation dreadnought Celestial Verdict, Admiral Rowe watched the playback again. A fleet of 72 vessels gone in seconds. There was no beam, no explosion, just silence, and then nothing. Her officers said they were jammed, that the telemetry broke. She knew better. They had seen the soldier. His image was never clear. Sometimes he moved like liquid shadow, sometimes like a man carved from obsidian. In every clip, he stood still until provoked. And then he moved faster than anything in the known universe had the right to. The Council had tried everything: biological assassins, rogue AIS, interdimensional weapons. All failed. Most never returned. The ones who did came back mad. Desperate, Rowe activated a locked file buried in the oldest Federation archive. Origin: Earth. Protocol designation: 7-Arc Sniper Initiative. A failed experiment in extreme-range ballistic warfare using human intuition against technological unpredictability. Only one candidate had ever graduated. His name, Elrich Vance. They found him on a derelict station orbiting Jupiter's dead twin, sleeping beside a broken rifle and a bottle of something illegal in 17 systems. His record was classified, even from Rowe. But the stories leaked through the cracks. A sniper who could calculate gravity drift across wormhole edges, who once shot a target through 2 rotating black hole event horizons during a skirmish on the Kenzari front. He had disappeared after that war, leaving nothing behind but speculation and silence. When the request came, he didn't ask questions, just stared at the hologram of the soldier and nodded once. The recruiter, a nervous lieutenant, asked if he was scared. Elrich's eyes, gray like lunar frost, didn't blink. "Don't waste time with questions you don't want the answers to," he said. Now, aboard the stealth ship Whisperfang, Elrich watched the stars slide past, reading the pattern of their movement like a story. He wasn't concerned with the myths. He didn't care about the galaxy's legends or its politics. All he wanted was to understand the shape of the target, and then end it. The mission profile was bare bones. No backup, no support, just data streams from failed encounters and a single instruction: if you see him, make it count. The soldier had last appeared in the ruins of Lycis 9, a mining colony reduced to glass and screams. No survivors. Just a single transmission that looped for 18 seconds, a child's laughter distorted through static. The Federation was certain the soldier was hunting, but Elrich knew better. "Is waiting," he muttered. "Waiting for what?" the ship's AI asked. It wasn't sentient, just helpful. "For someone who sees him," Elrich replied, "not just as a threat." The stars thinned as they entered the Lycis system. The silence here was unnatural. No radio signals. No debris. Just stillness, like the galaxy itself held its breath. Elrich deployed the ship's periscope drone and settled into the sniper's nest, a hollow in the ship's outer shell shielded from sensors and radiation. His rifle, a monstrous thing crafted from magnetic coils and psychic interface threads, aligned with his neural patterns. It had no trigger. It fired only when he knew. The asteroid field surrounding Lycis 9 was jagged, unnaturally geometric. Pieces of the colony, frozen in a moment of annihilation. And then, movement. Not fast, not loud, just presence. A figure stood on one of the larger asteroids, facing the ruins of the colony. Tall, armored in a material the senses refused to analyze. Not doing anything, just standing. Elrich's heart slowed. Breath deepened. No fear, just calculation. Distance, 102,000 kilometers. Gravitational drift, negligible. Ambient interference, high. Time to target, 0.72 seconds. He didn't fire. The soldier turned. No sound, no motion visible. But somehow, Elrich felt it. The figure was looking directly at him. "You see me," Elrich whispered. And then the soldier moved, disappearing without flare or sound. Elrich exhaled, hand trembling for the first time in years. This wasn't just a weapon. This was something that chose to wait. Something that knew when it was being watched. He reclined in the sniper pod, eyes unfocused. For the first time, doubt crept in. Not about his shot, but about what the target truly was. Somewhere deep in the ship, the AI chimed. Multiple systems report anomalies. Destination altered. Elrich sat up. Where? A pause. The soldier has changed course. He's heading for Earth. Elrich's expression didn't change. But inside, something shifted. This wasn't just a hunt anymore. This was personal. And whatever the soldier was, Elrich would find out. Or die knowing. The ship slipped between light and shadow, drifting on silent currents carved by dark matter streams. Elrich sat in the sniper's cradle, surrounded by silence thick enough to choke. He wasn't a man given to philosophy, but in the void between stars, reflection became a parasite. He couldn't stop thinking about the way the soldier had toned. No threat, no aggression, just recognition. As if Elrich were a variable in an ancient equation finally solved. He had tracked hundreds of targets, killed men who vanished into cloaks of time-bending distortion, fired through planetary shields and light-crawling armor. But this was different. The soldier didn't act like prey or predator. He acted like someone waiting for something, or someone. The Whisper Fang moved through the wreckage of the Virella Belt, another battlefield where the soldier had left his mark. Debris from 3 warring species now drifted in silent elegy. Ships cracked open like bones. Hulls scorched by a force beyond comprehension. Elrich drifted through it, watching the evidence with a sniper's precision. Each scorched pattern told a story. Not indiscriminate destruction. No. These were surgical, deliberate. Like the soldier had spared some, erased others. A broken comms relay blinked. Somehow still functional. Elrich interfaced through a cracked port and triggered the last recorded transmission. He stood there, a distorted voice whispered, in the middle of our command bridge. No weapons, no movement, just waiting. When we raised our guns, he vanished. When we lowered them, he returned. Elrich closed the file. This wasn't warfare. This was a message. The AI chimed in again. Interference detected on Quantum Channel 6. Repeating sequence pattern. Non-random. Elrich listened. A rhythmic pulse. Short, long, short. Repeating endlessly. Almost like Morse code, he muttered. Ancient Earth protocol. He decrypted the pattern. 4 words. I know your name. His blood cooled. No one should have known he was out here, let alone his identity. Not even the Federation knew the full mission profile. That meant one thing. The soldier had seen through everything. Camouflage, encryption, distance. And not just seen, understood. The mission had just changed. This wasn't about execution anymore. This was contact. He rerouted his course toward the ruins of Talmaran, a derelict Vilari structure orbiting a collapsed red dwarf. No patrols. No signals. But ancient architecture pulsed in the void like an exposed nerve. Federation analysts had marked it as haunted. Elrich didn't believe in ghosts, but he believed in places too old to forget. Landing was manual. The docking clamp screamed as they met fractured steel. Elrich stepped onto the blackened platform with his rifle across his back, each step echoing into silence. The gravity here was unstable, flickering like a failing memory. Inside, the walls shimmered with ancient data, responding to his presence. Holograms blinked to life. Vilari children training in silence, guided by silver-eyed elders. Symbols scrolled across the air. Unity, obedience, sacrifice. And then he saw it. A life-size projection of the soldier, unarmored, smaller, younger. A Vilari child with emotionless eyes, standing alone while a dozen others pointed weapons at him. He didn't flinch. The hologram flickered, transitioned. The same child, older now, wired into a biomechanical shell, expression blank. Weaponized loyalty. They hadn't built a soldier. They had conditioned one. A living relic forced into obedience, repurposed by fear. When the Vilari perished, he had remained, alone, bound to an order long extinct. Elrich exhaled slowly, almost a sigh. The fear the galaxy held wasn't of a monster, but of something created by monsters. He turned to leave, and froze. The soldier stood in the doorway, silent. No weapons, no hostility, just presence. Elrich didn't reach for his rifle. Instead, he met the gaze of something ancient and broken. "You lured me here," Elrich said. The soldier didn't move. "I saw what they did to you." Stillness, but not emptiness. Something simmered behind the armored gaze. Recognition. Elrich took a step forward. The silence between them tightened, charged with unsaid words. "Why Earth?" he asked. At first, nothing. Then the soldier's voice, deep, mechanical, fractured like a scratched record. "Origin." Not an answer. A starting point. Elrich nodded once. "Then let's finish it there." The soldier didn't react. And then, like a breath exhaled across centuries, he vanished. Back aboard the ship, the AI pinged him. Trajectory locked. Unknown vessel is en route to Sol system. Elrich sat in the command chair, adjusting his rifle's internal cores. He could no longer see this as a mission to eliminate a threat. It was a confrontation between past and present, between a man who had mastered the art of killing and a weapon that had forgotten why it was made to begin with. As Earth came into view, still distant, still fragile, Elrich realized this would not be a battle. It would be a reckoning. Earth floated in the void like a relic, its blue sheen still unmarred by the scars of interstellar war. To most of the galaxy, it was a forgotten backwater, primitive, undisciplined, irrelevant. But to Elrich, it was something else. A birthplace, a memory, a place still untouched by the weight of the cosmos. And now, it was a target. The Whisper Fang coasted into orbit under full stealth, invisible to satellites and forgotten military networks. Elrich stood in the observation deck, helmet under one arm, rifle slung across his back. His reflection stared at him in the glass, worn, pale, older than his years. The soldier would arrive soon. He felt it in his bones. Like gravity before impact, like breath before the trigger pull. He chose his ground carefully. An abandoned communication tower in the Siberian highlands, built before the orbital age, surrounded by nothing but frost and wind. He dug into the snow-covered steel, calibrating the scope with quiet precision. Every calculation mattered. Humidity, planetary rotation, wind curve, echo drift. But more than that, he listened. For the hum beneath the air. The frequency only snipers hear. The one that says, "Your target is near." And then he was. No entry point. No sound. Just sudden presence. The soldier stood at the edge of the ridge, framed by clouds, his armor glinting with faint pulses of forgotten technology. But there was no aggression in his posture, no threat, just waiting. Elrich steadied his rifle, the neural link humming against his skull. He could feel the shot, the one that would end everything. His finger hovered over the kinetic interface. He slowed his breath, his pulse. The world faded, narrowed to a single thread at a time. But he didn't fire. Instead, he stood, lowering the weapon. "I know why you're here," he said, voice steady. The soldier tilted his head slightly. "You came back to where they made you, not to destroy it, to remember it." A gust of wind stirred snow between them. The soldier didn't answer, but something in his stance changed. Less machine, more man. "They broke you," Elrich said. "They turned a child into a myth. And the galaxy gave you no peace, only fear. You're not their weapon anymore. You get to choose now." The soldier stepped forward. Just once. Slow. Measured. "If I don't stop you," Elrich said, "they'll send fleets. They'll try again. They'll strip this world to atoms if they think you've made it your haven." The armor split at the helm, peeling back in slow, deliberate sections. And for the first time, Elrich saw his face. Not monstrous. Not divine. Just tired. The soldier, no longer a title, no longer a weapon, met his gaze with ancient eyes, and in that look was the echo of a million years of solitude. "You could kill me," Elrich said. "You're faster, stronger." The response was a whisper, filtered through a voice nearly erased by time. Not everything must be ended with death. Then, without another word, the soldier stepped backward, dissolving into shimmer and snow, fading like a dream too fragile to stay. Elrich stood alone in the silence. Back aboard the Whisper Fang, The AI awaited orders. Status of target, it asked. Elrich stared out the viewport, Earth slowly rotating beneath him. Gone, he said. Or maybe free. The Federation sent encrypted pings, demanding confirmation, demanding results. Elrich deleted them all. There would be no report, no footage, no proof, only silence. Weeks passed, then months. Whispers spread in shadow networks. The ancient galactic soldier had disappeared. Worlds stopped burning. Armies disbanded emergency forces. Peace, not permanent, but possible, crept back into the galaxy. And Elrich? He vanished. Some said he was executed for withholding information. Others believed he fled to the Outer Rim, living among ghosts and ruins. The truth was simpler. On a small moon orbiting a dying star, far from any map, a new sniper's nest was built into cliffs. Here, a man taught without words. Trained hand to be steady, eyes to be sharp, hearts to remain silent. And sometimes, on clear nights, a shadow stood beside him, watching the stars without armor, without fear. Legends fade, but truth lingers in the quiet. And somewhere, beneath the endless sky, the man who spared a myth and the myth who remembered being a man, watched the galaxy they refused to let fall. The stars had shifted. Months had passed since Earth had been spared, since Elrich Vance chose not to pull the trigger, and the soldier chose not to retaliate. The galaxy had quietly pivoted on that choice, though most would never know it. Peace was not declared, but the silence that followed was unmistakable. A stillness, like a held breath. Yet peace, Elrich knew, was never permanent. He sat on the edge of a cliff on Alaris 3, an uninhabited moon wrapped in violet storms. The sniper's nest he had built into the mountain was crude compared to military outposts, but it served. More importantly, it was hidden. Hey, Elrich trained only 2 students, orphans of a collapsed alliance, both with steady hands and haunted eyes. He didn't teach them to kill. He taught them to see. They were practicing silently behind him when he felt it, a shift in the frequency of the air, that imperceptible change only a marksman could detect. He rose, eyes scanning the horizon. There was no shimmer of a ship, no sound of descent. But he felt it in his bones. The soldier had returned, not as a threat, but as something else. He stepped out of the wind, barefaced, unarmored, his presence muted but undeniable. The students froze. They had heard stories, fragments filtered through Elrich's rare moments of speech. To them, the soldier was both myth and warning. Elrich didn't speak right away. He simply nodded. The soldier inclined his head in return. You waited long, Elrich finally said. I learned, the soldier replied. The voice was still fractured, but less mechanical now. There was a rhythm to it, a cadence that suggested reclamation. Elrich studied him. The armor he once wore like a second skin was now gone, replaced with simple gray cloth, worn and functional. His frame, once rigid with coded purpose, seemed relaxed. Not soft, never that, but human, or close enough. What brings you here? The soldier turned toward the horizon, where clouds split to reveal the ring planet beyond. They are coming, he said. Not the Federation, not the old empires. Something else. Elrich frowned. How do you know? They called to me, like your people once did, but louder, angrier. They do not want peace. They want proof of power. And they think that's you. No, the soldier looked at Elrich. They think it's us. Elrich took a slow breath. He had known this stillness wouldn't last. Somewhere in the void, war was always awakening, but he hadn't expected to face it with a weapon he'd once been sent to destroy. What do they want? To own the silence, the soldier said, to bend the galaxy through fear, as I once did. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. Elrich glanced back at the students. They stood still, watching, absorbing every second. You're not what they think, Elrich said quietly. The soldier's jaw tensed. I'm still what I was made to be, but now I choose how. That, Elrich knew, was a difference that mattered. He motioned for the students to return to the nest, then followed the soldier into the rocky shadow of the canyon. There, without satellites to eavesdrop, without drones to record, they spoke in hushed tones about what loomed beyond the edge of known space. They have tech beyond Federation scans, the soldier explained. They come from a system where physics strains. Their minds don't align with time the way ours do, but they remember me, or something like me. Elrich processed that slowly. So we're not dealing with conquest. We're dealing with memory. Yes, and they want to erase it. The implication was clear. If memory could be controlled, history could be rewritten. And in that revision, peace would not be a variable, only dominance. I can't stop an empire, Elrich said. Not with a rifle. Not alone. You're not alone. The words, simple as they were, struck something deep. A truth Elrich had never dared to accept, not since he walked away from the wars, from the Federation, from every order and structure built to kill and justify killing. Together, they outlined a strategy, not for war, but for resistance, for precision, the kind that disrupted without devastation, the kind that whispered through systems and left power structures crumbling not from fire, but from fracture. The soldier would lead where he was remembered as Fey. Elrich would strike where he was unseen. Two myths, moving through the dark, not to destroy, but to unwrite the tools of destruction. As they parted, the soldier paused, eyes gleaming faintly beneath the setting twin suns. You spared me, he said. That rewrote me. Now, we'll rewrite them. Elrich offered a rare, thin smile, one shot at a time. And as the storm clouds rolled back in lightning tracing veins across the sky, the two most feared figures in the galaxy vanished into legend once more, this time not as executioners, but as sentinels standing between silence and the storm.